Months, appreciate you. We're playing some Dimir Death Shadow today. This is a deck that we've been talking. We've played this like a bunch at with the release of Ledger Shredder and Streets of New Capenna. Also with Tainted Indulgence too. We were trying. I was playing Indulgence back in the list back when I thought it was easier to turn on as a card, especially with Street Wraith, but it's really not in this list. The big change is Night's Whisper, giving you both a card draw spell plus another enabler for Death Shadow. You don't have to play Street Wraith if you play Night's Whisper, which is really nice. You get to build a deck very lean, mean, down to the ground with lots of cheap counterspells interaction. At the convention center this weekend, where you can play to get buys maybe for the tournament. So I think I'm down to play like one of those events. I don't think I want to grind a ton of them. So hopefully there's one that starts late enough that I can do a stream, go up to the center, hang out, play one of those trials. I think I'm on the third land right now. Oh boy. Surgical Murktide Regent. Is Burn viable? Yeah, Burn's viable. Only 2 Murktides left in the deck, though. Wait, they milled 3 shadows and 2 Murktides. I straight up have 1 shadow left in my deck. And 3 Shredders is my only threats. Unreal. Unreal. Life total's getting real low, Spider-Man. Yeah, I think the stream's gonna be about 3 hours total. Maybe like 2 hours, 55 minutes. So maybe we get to like a stopping point too. But I'm picking up Mingu from the airport. This is the draw 3. Exactly a draw 3. What a crazy top deck. Demoralizing game. Yeah. My tooth. It's just a teeth stream today. It's apparently my last wisdom tooth is coming in. It was getting real gnarly in there, but it's doing all right now. All right, off it. Off it. Okay. I think Night's Whisper is probably a card I don't want that much of this matchup. Yeah, crazy beatings today. I mean, this is just modern too. Always to some extent, it's just like modern is a format where you can just get smacked around by these kind of like linear decks drawing super well, like we've been running into this morning. Maybe I want to be up to like 63 and play a couple Night's Whisper. I know I kind of pivoted a little bit at the end there, huh? Okay, so I think I'm going to fetch Shock main phase, and if they have a trap, then I can Stubborn Denial it. Why Grixis Shadow been falling off? It's actually been all the Shadow variants have been picking up lately. This deck, Grixis Shadow, and then also like Rakdos Shadow in the hands of I think it was Soul Strong. If it wasn't Soul Strong, I apologize. But all of the Shadow variants have actually been doing better lately. And we played Grixis Shadow actually also earlier this week. I think I'll actually ditch the Shadow here. We played Grixis Shadow earlier this week, and we had like a league where we got like mana flooded, mana screwed a lot, but we still like 4-1'd. And so I'm actually considering playing that this weekend. I'm considering playing, I guess, a shadow deck in general. I'm just kind of been jiving with them. But, I've been working on this too, thinking that this could be something I'd want to play instead of, Grixis. Not sure yet. Guess this stub's not amazing. Rakdos, I think, is just better than Dimir. Yes, I think that's kind of... If we're talking about, like, Rakdos scam, sure, I think that that's a fine stance to have. However, I didn't really like the Rakdos Shadow list that much. I thought, like, the curve was kind of high. I need to look at it again. There's something else about it that I just didn't like that much. How's the creativity matchup? I think it's pretty good. You have a lot of, premium interaction against them. Yeah, Blood Moon plus Shadow has tension. Okay. Thankfully with Murktide in the deck, we can tank Tasha's. And glad they didn't draw a land. Then is Archive Trap, Dispute, Tasha's, and we top deck a Counterspell, huge. Mingu is currently flying here. I'm picking him up in like 2 hours or something. Okay, so Field of Ruin turns on Archive Trap. Big top deck for opponent. So I still have one more island in the deck, but it's like somewhat likely to get exiled to this Tasha's. Counter Laughter. I know my opponent has Dispute. They're going to dispute this. And then I connive and I get another card in the yard. Yeah, the connive isn't relevant at all, right? Yeah, I'm not running Ovar in the sideboard. I have Stubborn Denial. I think Ovar is really interesting. Okay, they didn't. So the thing is, I have one more island in the deck. So when they Field of Ruin me, I can counter the Archive Trap and pay for Dispute. Is the thought process here behind not countering? Yeah. Orvar is very sweet tech. I think we were talking about it. I think we were talking about it recently. Connive is relevant if you discard non-land into runner non-land, yeah. Okay, so if I counter this, they Archive Trap, I have to connive, and then Archive Trap kills me, so... Yeah. Oh, I do think Ovar, the sideboard against creativity, is like really good tech. I like it a lot. I'm into it. So if they mill over, I think this is gonna boil down to if they mill over my island, I lose. Okay, they did not mill over the last island. Oh no, but they just pass. They just pass. Of course. So now I need to... I'm not sure. I have to connive into like exactly drown the Loch. I have stub. I don't have ferocious turned on 4 stub. It's closed. This will be 3 power. Oh, but then I just oh, so they tap out for the dispute, obviously. I don't know why I was thinking. So yeah, this whole time I was thinking that this dispute was 0 mana. Okay, yeah, they're just tapped out. I don't know why I'm thinking they have enough mana to dispute and pay 1. Okay. I don't know. I think it's because like I was accounting for the mana they had before they went like crab tap land, because like if they don't play the crab, the stub doesn't do anything, right? And if they play crab untapped land, Counterspell Dispute doesn't win the counter war. And so the fact that they did like the exact combination of cards that I can actually beat. Let's do 61. Let's do 61. They like just happened to play the exact combination of cards I beat there. Like if they don't play the crab, I lose. And if they play an untapped land, I win. So that ended up working out nice, huh? Bizarro, thank you for the 21 months. Yeah, Surgery is for Creativity, Cascade, and Scapeshift, which is also, you know, a relevant deck these days, surprisingly. Or maybe not that surprising. I do like shuffling here, so if they have Archive Trap, I get to stub it. The old no-lander. How do I beat Breach? I mean, we're a deck with like lots of counter magic and cheap disruption and dress down for Urza Saga tokens. Counter Underworld Breach. Just like I think most of the like super interactive decks have a slight edge on Breach. In fact, like I think Grixis Shadow is usually like the best deck against Breach in Modern, and I'm not. And maybe this version could be like a little worse, but it's still probably not what I'm super concerned about. Yeah, I think I want to keep this so I can go Murktide plus Counterspell next turn. I also like kinda want them to mill me with the crab if they find a land. So I'll wait on the push because I would want them to mill me so I can make a bigger Murktide. But no, with two usually with two Murktides in hand, you don't want to delve away the instants and sorceries. But when your opponent has Ruin Crab in play, I think you're like supposed to play it the way I played it. Let's do this so that I can just pay for a dispute if they have another dispute. All right, feeling pretty good. Don't currently have a Halloween costume picked out. Me and some friends did go to Halloween store recently, and I maybe bought some Naruto costume stuff, but well, I bought like the 4th Hokage robe and a kunai, and then Madara's mask. Does that mean I have a Halloween costume picked out? No. Ooh, baby. Have I narrowed down decks playing for event? You would think I would have, right? I don't know. I mean, I got a big wrench thrown into my tooth. So I've just been like out of commission a little bit for the last couple days. And I think I'm going to play... If I had to choose right now, I would play Grixis Shadow. But some of my friends are going to come over too. We're going to play test with Menguchi a little bit. Interesting. Looks like the Rakdos list I like to play. I want to take the Inquisition. I really want to get the Shredder down. What makes Night Swift's better than Charm in this list is it that just between Counterspell, Drown, you have enough counters? Yes, between Counterspell, Drown, Denial, you have enough counters. Archmage's Charm is not always a draw 2. It is, very often a 1-for-1. It's also the case that I think the Night's Whisper both lets you play at the swamp, where it's hard to play the swamp in your Drown the Luck deck. And I also think that it is... thank you, Graven Cairns. I also think that it is true that like Night's Whisper lets you get away with 17 lands a lot easier, where it's just like you don't have any 3-mana spells in the deck, don't have any 4-mana spells in the deck, and you can just like jam Night's Whisper on turn 2. I think I'm a little bit behind to play the Whisper. Squee, yeah, it looks like they're playing, you know, the non-scam Rectos list. Let's get the Lucy cam on. Lucy's gonna meet not just Magoo, she's a bunch of new friends today. Right, Lucy, huh? Both Lucy and Athena were so sweet while I was, you know, out of it. Just the sweetest. Oh, they get to discard Squee. Okay. That being said, I think we're going to be able to put ourselves in a really good spot where we go to 8, but then we go Bauble, push, and then we get to eat this one when it's forced to attack, and we get to hold up Counterspell. That seems okay to draw. Let's keep that. Although maybe I'm conniving it away. Yeah, I'm actually conniving it away. But I just want to get this up to 3-5 so I get to eat the Channeler. And if my opponent escapes Squee, that's fine. We counter it, just counter whatever. Once again, asking for good deck to grind model leagues. Keep in mind, I'm an idiot and bad at living in. They can escape Squee to avoid deleter. That's true, yeah. So if they escape Squee, maybe I just don't counter. I probably still counter. Worked on Blue-Red Wizards for Pioneer, been working on it lately. What do you think the list would look like? Founding, maybe makes the cut. Maybe. I've spent a lot of time on Izzet lists recently in Pioneer, and they're very, very difficult to build. It's kind of a classic case of like lots of reasonable options and no options that feel like it just never feels like you have like the best list, to be honest. One thing, I think I would be playing the new, like, the new wizard from the set. It's the 1/2 trample gets a +1 counter when you cast any instant or sorcery. That card seems like a must-have for like any of the wizard decks. It plays well with Wizard's Lightning, or sorry, Wizard's Retorts, because the counters stay on the card. It's always important to know, like, like cast instants and sorceries do things. There's two types of threats. There are threats that work well with counterspells and threats that don't. So cards like Monastery Swift Spear, Balmore are cards that you have to be playing proactively. You have to be casting a lot of spells on your turn, and these are cards that are not very good if you're not, you know, just doing things on your turn. Nice. But cards that like Sprite Dragon, Delver of Secrets, Young Pyromancer, these are cards that you could like because they get +1 counters, you can just sit back on your counter magic and get value from them even without casting spells on your own turn. Yeah, Mingu's visiting for SEG Dallas. I'm just toasting him. Pioneer does have Reckless Rage. Reckless Rage is legal and pretty good in the Izzet lists. Opponent puts a card on the top of their library. Down to 2 life. So I think against an opponent who just put a card on top, I'm just playing the Shadow. Am I attacking? Unfortunately, if I attack with the Shredder, I'm not presenting lethal with the Death Shadow next turn. I think I'm just passing. Ito, 17 months, thank you. Yeah, I mean, he's not just, he's just doing a little bit of a visiting America. He's also doing videos with the professor. So if my opponent escapes Squee, I can let them go to combat. Kill something in combat. Go to 1. 12 power. Yeah, I think I'll let them go to combat. They don't play around anything. They can escape Squeagan, though. But I've drawn another shadow, so... fairly straightforward turn here. They can't really attack. I mean, they have an Alpha Strike if I don't have a removal spell. Seems okay. They also kept a card on top, which is, like, very possibly Lightning Bolt, you know. No real reason to attack with the Shredder. I just have, like, super lethal, you know, next turn no matter what. Oh, and I need to leave everything back because of the Squee. I don't know why I was thinking that 2 creatures were good enough against the Squee. They have the Goblin already in play. Yeah, I think it was a new round too. Okay, they can fear the Ragavan, but I have a black creature. Yeah, this doesn't work. I guess they're hoping I don't know what fear does. But I've been known to register Shizo. I've been known to register Shizo. Maybe they were the ones that didn't know what fear does. What formats? I think I'm just gonna play Modern in Dallas. Yeah, I think just Modern. Should these style of Rakdos let's play Blood Moon or Magus to sideboard? Maybe main deck too, yeah. Yeah, I don't have Tiny Leaders currently built. I wouldn't mind building it though. Ah, rip. I might just not sideboard. Do you have any Bard class brews? No, I have no good Bard class brews. I don't think I'm playing Espergorios. We played some of the other day. It's a deck I like. Still kind of need to figure out, but I don't know. Maybe there's just like so much Blood Moon in the metagame right now. It's, you know, I think like right when the domain cards came out and like right before, there was less Blood Moon, but the presence of Leyline Binding has really increased the prevalence of Blood Moon, and man, that deck is so bad against Blood Moon. Yeah, Esper Food is a deck I might end up YOLOing. Yeah, it's the same thing for the other Reanimator deck. I don't know, but both of the variants are really bad against Blood Moon right now. And, you know, forever. Okay, we're on the draw. We have a Bauble. It's a hard matchup to mulligan in. I think I'm going to keep. We have 2 1-mana spells. Any Cincinnati green for Goyf Trophy Decay? I'd like to play Sultai. Well, apparently, I'm known as the Sultai guy. Some horrible mistake I made in my life gave some person the impression that I am the Sultai guy, and if you ask me, that's one person too many. That's one person too many to think that I'm the Sultai guy. I would do anything to change that. How's the deck Enchantress matchup? I mean, probably horrible. I don't think that there is, to answer your question, I don't think that there is any sense in adding green for Goyf and Decay. If you're going to splash a color, it would definitely be red. Red is, I'm going to crack for, what could y'all consider? Red is the best color in Modern, and like playing Ragavan Channeler Iteration, just that easy. Ragavan Channeler Iteration, it makes a lot more sense than Goyf Decay Trophy. But if you're the Sultai person, then one, you could take some of the heat off of my back and people could go, oh, this is the Sultai guy, not Aspiring Spike, and then you could play it as a Sultai deck. It just would be worse. Blitz, 29 months. Thank you. What's the worst color modern? Black. Which is okay. So it's kind of funny to say this, I guess, because I play around Blood Moon here. I do think I'm gonna hold up Counterspell. I don't want to play this into like Liliana or any of the 3-drops. Although I guess they're not gonna Liliana into the stub. Yeah, so it is funny to like. There's Dimir Murktide, right? And this is like that deck cutting the red and adding black. Although the idea I think behind this like changed largely, if you're talking about like more strategic metagame implications, is that this swap makes you, I think, better in the Murktide mirror, and then I think this like swap of red for black makes you a lot better against Hammer Time too. I think those are like the two matchups when you compare this deck to Murktide that get like drastically improved. Why Dimir over Grixis? So I mean, the prevalence of counterspells is the main reason. But like that is one thing too, I guess. To some extent, like it's very easy to ask that question, like why are you playing this deck over Grixis Shadow? But like the reality is, it's like this deck is much closer to blue red Murktide than Grixis Shadow. Okay, I think we should play this hold up stub. Yeah, this is the same kind of like super efficient spells backed up by Counterspell and Murktide Regent. And what's cool about this list compared to Murktide is with Drown in the Loch, you get to play a higher density of 2-mana counterspells, which helps you a lot in the 4-color Omnath matchup. You get to be in general more resilient to, I guess I'm discarding Denial now. In general, you get to be more resilient to red-based removal too, which makes you good at the mirror. The black removal spells make you much better against Hammer Time. Hammer Time is becoming has been a lot more popular recently, or okay, hold on. My opponent they just have heat, right? Yeah, I think if they're attacking with the... Oh, no, what am I just overthought it, sorry. I just overthought it. I was thinking for whatever reason, like, if they're attacking the Voidwalker, they have the heat, but obviously this can't be blocked. They just always attack with it. So, sorry, I should have definitely blocked there. And now, with them having Kroxa in the graveyard, things get a little weird. If they have a fetch land, they lose if they escape Kroxa. I think I just attack. Yeah, just making a bigger shadow. Any thought to Sign of a Whisper? Casting cost seems minimal when you want to fetch shock so aggressively. It's not minimal. You have 2 basic islands in the deck. And also a lot of times, like, you know, there's going to be plenty of games where you don't want to go fetch shock into fetch shock's Night's Whisper. You want to get a basic instead. I think it's, like, even, like, pretty clear that you would prefer to... I think that Night's Whisper being castable off island is a lot more relevant than being able to deal 2 with Sign in Blood. Sorry, are they going to try to turn off Delirium so they can block with the Channeler? Because I almost feel like it's a bit more relevant to... I guess I would just be able to like take the 3 and leave both creatures back for next turn. But if I drew a land, then I die. Tech for Reginald. I feel like I got a deck text very similar to this somewhat recently. My initial impression was like there's like a lot more exile-based removal with okay, so they're dead to a removal spell, they're dead to another Murktide Regent. Now I'm dead. Yeah, I just obviously should have blocked. Going to game 3. My first impression was like I felt like these lists like look kind of underpowered, weak to exile based removal. Making a 4/4/5/5 indestructible creature on your land on turn 3 is like very slow and modern. I like the Supreme Verdict tech a lot. I think that that's like one of the things to really like here. I like the Boom Bust Cleansing Wildfire stuff too. I like the Darksteel Relics. I think you could maybe even play a third Darksteel Relic. I'd probably cut the 4th island for the 4th Razortide Bridge. I think these prismatic endings are like a little out of place, or like the full 4 in the main. I feel like I'd be interested in going like -1 ending, +1 relic, minus another ending, +1 verdict, and maybe have the other 2 in the sideboard. But I think like the whole like your creatures are indestructible, you have Supreme Verdict. That plan like is like one of the things I like the most about the list. 4 stubs in the sideboard is interesting. You could maybe cut all the endings and do 2 stub main, 2 stub side. I feel like that would be totally fine. It's a lot of Cascade hate, which is probably fair. Maybe even play 4th Verdict in the sideboard. How about his Agademe in a show like yours? Agademe is pretty bad in the deck that's playing Counterspell. You could though. I guess I'm just gonna go Island, Night's Whisper, get to play around. Blood Moon. Draw 2 of these matchups, pretty good. Yeah, they're casting Inquisitions, I'm casting Night's Whispers. Always a good place to be. I think Elves is better than Merfolk at the moment. I've said this a bunch. Like Merfolk is like never like really a deck I understand or understood. I just like don't know how to build it or how to pilot it. 'Cause every time I try to build it and pilot it, I just do so badly, and then I don't know if it's just like there's a lot of Merfolk players or if they're doing something I'm not doing, but it just never seems to go that well for me. Okay, they shuffled away the Pyro. 3rd Inquisition. Is Leyland Binding better than Solitude? No card is better than any other card. They're all just different. They took my Thoughtseize. Kind of hurts to graveyard that. Because I do this for mana efficiency. So they got those Seasoned Pyromancer tokens. Thankfully they drew a tap land, I suppose. Okay, kind of punished for getting my own tap land here. I think it's fine because they have the Seasoned Pyromancer tokens. I'll be able to cast the Shadow momentarily. Ledger Shredder seems fine. I guess I cast it now since they're going to use their mana on tokens. I'm less likely to have a target for my counter magic. Yeah, I don't know when the content I made with the Professor comes out. Soon, probably. Just, you know, whenever. Do a stream with Nikachu piloting with his input? Nah. I don't like co-streams on like a Zoom call. I really dislike. Just like there's always like a lot of technical, like, you know, like the Zoom call stuff is always like a little weird. It's just like way worse than being in person. And it's also true, like you can't talk to chat, especially on a Zoom call. Like I did that coaster with Doom in person, and it's like a lot more clear when you're responding to chat than to Doom, or whoever you're doing the co-stream with. But when you're co-streaming, you can't respond to anything chat says, which is a bummer. I like to talk to chat, I think my opponent has a 2 damage burn spell, so I want to fetch shock now, and so they can't respond to the fetch. Like with that attack, like Unholy Heat or Kolaghan's Command makes a lot of sense. I was thinking of cutting some gut shots since you're less impactful in my store in the Founding Phoenix deck. I think that the gut shots are really important just to have a density of 0 mana spells. I don't know that you can cut them. You can cut like 1. Yeah, I agree. Better as a YouTube video. So if I'm putting my opponent on that Unholy Heat, they can double block then Heat, but I just have, I would be okay trading a Counterspell and for two tokens here basically, and the Heat in the hand. Then the Bugbear. Is there any merit to the Martyr Animator? Has to be my favorite card, Spyro Fable. I think I generally dislike that version compared to the Esper variants, I agree it definitely has that cool factor. Ooh, Boil. Good card to know about. Think of gaming. Let's counter that. And I guess I will play a Murktide instead of Night's Whispering. Maybe keeping another Murktide's better, doesn't really matter that much. Okay, deck's chugging along. We did get toasted by Belcher and Dredge this morning. Then we beat Mill and Rakdos midrange. Okay, let's keep this. Spell Pierce on top, and then I'm drawing Drown. I think we take the Rin there. Does kind of stink always to be up against. I will just trade Night's Whisper for Spell Pierce. Always stinks to be up against a deck that's like resilient to Fatal Push. When you have a double push hand, it is what it is. Get to cut them in sideboard games. Can still push some things. One card away from slamming Murktide. I would definitely slam it if I could this turn. Yeah, I mean, Sign of Blood, I just think it has to be like a lot worse than Night's Whisper. Like, we could get a counter up, but I think basically every time it would be it would have been worse so far. Ooh, another Murktide. Like Sign of Blood is only ever better if your opponent's at like 2 life, 1 or 2 life, and just this one's castable off an island. They shocked into Stomping Ground. I don't know what that means. Probably means they're gonna cast something. Alright, their hand is so mana flooded. I think I'm down to counter this. Then we use Counterspell instead of Drown. Oh, they just have another Spell Pierce is what the shock means. Sure. They drew 2 Archons? So unlucky. Yeah, I mean, if they creativity here, it's like really not that big a deal. I could just drown this. Now they only have one left in their deck. Would you have third Spell Pierce? No, but no third... Maybe, but no third Steam Vents. But did they draw another Creativity? No, Cycle Triumph. Red 6. 2 cards in their hand. Struggling to find land number 3. I think with so few cards in my yard, I'm just gonna 7/7 Murktide here, or 8/8, 8/8. If I had like two more cards in my yard, I'd probably make this a bit smaller to grow the other one. Ooh, well, punished. It's nice to have insulation against the last Archon. Let's just, I guess, play a Shredder. Triumph being super good for them here. Weird game. So many decks running efficient counterspells. Do you think Charm is too slow in blue-white? No, Charm is really good in blue-white. Like, specifically blue-white with the higher curve. Charm is also like good against counterspell decks too. I don't know if that's exactly the question you're asking, but like in counterspell mirrors, Archmage's Charm is like often like your best card or one of your best cards. Yeah, just to play Shadow here. Alright, let's go to game 2. Weird game. Let's bring in the surgeries and the extra denial, cutting the pushes. I think the first copy of Murderous Cut is good. I'm not sure that I want any more than just the first copy. Voidwalker can be really nice in this matchup, being able to cast Archon of Cruelties sometimes. Doesn't work that well with Stub. People always want to play explosives in this matchup. I feel like explosives is so bad. It's just like so easy to play around and so hard to hold up the mana for. Yeah, people always want to bring it in. I actually really dislike it. I think I'll play one Voidwalker. Maybe I'll play 3/2 split. Push for the dwarves is no good. Not really. It's just so easy to play around. They always play around push on the dwarf. You know what I mean? Like there's no creativity player that ever plays into it. Okay, I think with Ledger Shredder this hand is keepable. You should play EE. So like, do you guys like? I don't understand like when I give an argument like. I don't like EE because it's you have to leave 2 mana up the whole game in the 17 land deck, and it's really easy for opponents to play around. They have perfect info in play. When you hear me say that, like why do you in chat say you should play EE? Why would you not say you should play EE for these reasons? You know what I mean? You should play EE for this argument that I have, right? surely like you hear what you hear my points. Why are no other points being made? Ah, muted stream. Duck 7 months. Thank you. Yeah, Orvar is really good tech. It's really cool. All right, let's play Voidwalker. You should play EE because starting turn 4 onwards is pretty okay to hold up the mana. I think that's an argument. That's an argument. I disagree. In the 17 land deck, holding up the mana is like so painful. I've brought in EE against creativity, and I came to really dislike it. But yeah, but that's we need the points being made, you know. I like Hallowed Moonlight as a card. But like here's also the thing about explosives though. You never ever sacrifice explosives in this matchup, or almost never sack it. Like with them having all the Prismari commands and all the leyline bindings, they will just answer it before they creativity. And like to some extent, like, you know, you playing it on 0, holding up 2 mana is fine doing that, but it's like in some ways the card also costs 2 mana every single turn after you play it. It has like, cumulative upkeep, play 2. Dude, Spell Pierce is so good. Yeah, they play 4 Leyline Binding, 4 Prismari Command. It's really easy for them to answer, relatively easy. Okay, I think I just make this a 4/4. Yeah, this is definitely a game where the Drowned Voidwalker tension very real. If I counter this and they have land creativity, it's super duper bad. I think I have to let it go. Is Orvar against creativity for it? Yeah, so what Orvar does is like when they Archon, you get to discard the Orvar and copy their Archon, and then you get to untap. You get to maybe make them sack their Archon, untap with Archon, attack them. It's very good tech for them. They have 1 card in their hand. It's always Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce Companion. Feeling pretty ahead at this point. I think it's fine to shock on the 10. I mean, I could maybe get raced by the 2 dwarves. Not super likely, but I also don't think I can cast a shadow anyways. 2 turn clock, 2 counterspell should be fine no matter what. Non-permanent spells, the companion, actual thoughts. I honestly think the companion mechanic, you know, most of the companions are too pushed, but I think that there's a handful of them that are like just right, and you can. I do think that there is like some more design space for it, but it doesn't matter. They will never print another companion. That's not only EDH legal. They will never print another companion into Modern. It was way too unpopular. Yeah, Umori, Gyruda, Obosh, Zerda, Karuga. These are like good Modern power level companions. And then like Gigantha, Kihira, Luris, Yorion are too pushed. Gigantha's like quietly the most broken right now. Now that Luris is gone, because there's just like a big handful of decks that just get the free dumb 5/5 for no reason. I don't think of the 5 months. Appreciate you. Without the companion roll, then good too good. Yeah. Of course, with the companion errata, original ruling, yeah, for sure. Although not Amori, not you, Amori. What do I think about Esper Reanimator right now? I think it's like not amazingly positioned because of like all the Blood Moons right now. That's kind of my big issue. Fuck, Lutri card ruined Highlander for a year. Yeah, I don't know why that card wouldn't just be like immediately banned from Highlander. I don't know why it would take a whole year to ban it. Okay, Ren and 6 on the top. Kind of an interesting spot. I think I just pass. Not super interested in letting them have a Ren. Although if this Drown gets Spell Pierce, I'll just barf. Does Abundant Growth work for Blood Moon? It does, I believe. I think that the growth has to come down after the Blood Moon too. to work the way you want it to. 2 Ridden 6s and a Spell Pierce. Barf. Or Flusterstorm. Still barf. 2 days ago, Super Progressor got canceled automatically. What's going on? Yeah, it's switching over to a TCG Player subscription. I think you have to go to TCG Player for it now. I feel like you should have got an email about it, but I'm not 100% sure that's how they sent out the info on that, I guess. Yeah, I'm also officially scaling back a little bit on Channel Fireball, though. I'm going down to just 1 article, 1 video a week. Which is still a lot, but... not as much as, like, just the crazy amount I've been doing for the longest time now. I think we ditched the Consider here. It's my choice. It's my choice. I don't know. I just, like, since Modern Horizons 2, I've been doing 2 articles, a video, and a smaller article every single week with, like, very few breaks. And it's just become, like, unsustainable. I've been feeling, like, burned out on the writing for a long time, and it's also, like, you know, it was just time. Just time to trim on it. You know, switch to, like, 60-hour weeks instead of 70 or 80. Maybe I'm supposed to keep the next Thoughtseize. Obviously, it kind of depends on what we see here. Oh, their hand's not that good. I think I take the Persist. I'm not really scared of Dress Down. I'm kind of surprised they have Dress Down in against me at the moment. And I'm just going to ignore the Wren. When Lord of the Rings comes out, I go back to 100 hour. Yeah. Of course. I'm gonna not play Night's Whisper so I can pay for a Spell Pierce. If they cycle Triome, draw like Creativity Spell Pierce, that's like the only way I can see losing or something like that. Okay, they get rid of the Shredder instead of the Shadow. Maybe with the Triome, I was supposed to attack the Wren, although the Wren would still be alive. To be fair. I'm also dead to Bolt now. Although this is for the win, potentially. Yeah, I think the Lord of the Rings set is next summer. It could be 2 summers from now. They don't have anything. They cycle the Dress Down here, right? Next July. 2 damage to me and draw 2, discard 2. So they're looking for a Lightning Bolt. And they don't find it. We won. Awesome. 3-1. 3-0. Good RNG. Spec the right class. Blah, blah, blah. Probably put back second Shredder. But the last one's giving me some problems, apparently. It was like, my gums were like super inflamed, and they like burst a little bit. It's not pretty. The doc says that this one, in theory, should still come in fine. That it's like, it's not... he said I don't need to get it removed. I can get it removed if it's giving me too much problem, but in theory, he said if I just gargle a lot of salt water and floss really well, I should be fine. Doc is a hack? Yeah, maybe. he's Esther's like longtime dentist. He's like from the same country as Esther's parents, and so you know, they get along. I had no cavities though, which is good because I admittedly haven't had like a dentist checkup in a while, so I was kind of expecting a cavity, but no cavities. Yeah, I am going. Oh, bummer, Sherwin. You won't be there to smoke me with merfolk. Yeah, they're from Azerbaijan. I've told this story a few times, but so it's so surreal to think about. But Esther's dad used to work for like the Azerbaijani airport, or I think sorry, Azeri, I think, and things were bad. You know, it's a very like war-torn country, and you know they did some Armenian genocide, and it was really bad. And he was like, he decided to flee the country just by like when he landed in Dallas Fort Worth, he just got off the plane. He just stepped off the plane and didn't get back on. And America's like, you can stay here. That's fine. We'll have you. And he did it without telling Esther's mom. He did it without telling Esther's mom. And so for 2 years, she's stuck in Azerbaijan, no husband, with a brand new baby, Esther's older brother, a brand new baby who I think, I don't know if her dad was there for the birth of the brother. It was a whole thing. You could say it was a whole thing. And
it was when my brother was 2 through 4.
2 through 4. Oh, I thought that he was like a new baby.
No, but
well, they're drowning
they
this.
came when he was 5. No.
Okay.
Yeah, they came when he was 5, and I was born when he was 5, something like that. They came when he was like 4.
How long were they here when you were born?
I think 2 years. Maybe 2 through 3. Okay, I don't know. I know he was there. He was here for 2 years before, and I think he was like, I think my brother was probably like 1 or 2. Yeah.
Wait on the Murderous Cut because I could draw another shredder.
Because I think they came in 1990. Wait, he was born. Bro, I don't know. I know Clinton was president.
Yeah, so, but, you know, I think about it all the time. Like, if this man just doesn't take this insane move, this, like, really ballsy, super risky move to step off the plane and wait years to try to get his wife over from Azerbaijan, like, I don't end up, my life is so different. I don't, have, the love of my life. It's just crazy to think about how... If he just doesn't step off the plane, my life is ruined, It's funny how the butterfly effect and everything. Only real scouts mom and kids, yeah, for sure. Murktide, baby. 2, 3, 4. I think making this a 7/7 is correct. 1, 2, since it dodges heat.
I mean, my life would have been way more different than yours.
Yeah, that's true.
I would be speaking Russian.
That's true.
Would not be American. Texan. Oh, look at your sea. No, stay. Stay, Lucy, stay.
Okay, up a game against Grixis Shadow. Notably, Grixis Shadow is not playing Gigantha, so they could be playing Liliana, they could be playing Murktide, they could be playing Counterspell, they could be playing Voidwalker. I think I'm down for one more removal spell. One surgery for iterations may be fine too. Could play 2 thoughts. I think play 2 Thoughtseizes. What? So they made this deck good. Seemed pretty mediocre back then. Yeah. So I thought the same. One thing, I do really feel like Night's Whisper ties the deck together in a big way, where the deck was like, so we first started working on this deck back in when Ledger Shredder came out, and I was thinking that Tainted Indulgence was going to be really easy to turn on with Street Wraith, and that just wasn't the case. Was not very easy to turn on the card advantage for Tainted Indulgence, and I don't know why it took me so long to get on Night's Whisper, but I do really feel like to a big extent, Night's Whisper is the card that ties the room together. It makes the 17 lands a lot more doable. This card's castable on turn 2 instead of Iteration, which is castable turn 3. It's another Death Shadow enabler, which is something the deck is looking for, and it means you don't have to play Street Wraith. It's also true, like, the format has become a bit more focused on Cascade and combo in general, and so, like, a really Counterspell dense deck like this, I think, is a lot better positioned than... This is not an investment stream map. You know, I do a lot of brewing, and sometimes cards spike in price based on that, so we have a kind of a strict no, like, MTG finance speculation here. Have a nice Whisper 4. Yep, 4, baby. I had a few before. Modern is really good. I think it's you know, 2-mana draw 2 Modern is good. It's kind of, to be like, if you look at the deck, this deck has like the exact same formula as Blue Red Murktide. Right? It's like it's very similar. Where you have 12 threats. Murktide usually plays a few more. We're playing Thoughtseize. We're playing a little bit less lands, but it's just like 12 creatures, Mishra's Bauble, interactive spells. And I think the interactive spells with black are a lot better than the red ones. Ragavan is, you know, certainly really sick, and you know, you do miss it here, I think, but let's cast the Night's Whisper here. But I do think that this build makes you better against Blue Red Murktide, makes you better against Hammer Time, where the black removal is so much better against Hammer Time than the red removal. And I think maybe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think that maybe the Drown in the Loch and just having a higher density of 2-mana counterspells will make you better against 4-color Omnath too. Toby, 13 months, thank you. Good luck at Dallas. The Mirror deck is looking good for it. Yeah, maybe. I do think if I 5-0, I'm just going to have a hard time not jamming. Okay. Scary hands. We missed our 3rd land. Why not play Sign in Blood? I have Island in the deck. I think that I have basic Island in the deck. I think the players who want to play Sign in Blood over Night's Whisper, it's just classic, like, wanting to feel like smart, because like very occasionally you'll burn your opponent out with Sign in the Blood, but I think more often you'll lose games because you have a hand that either wants to fetch an island and can't because you have Sign in Blood, or a hand that has naturally drawn basic island Sign in Blood, and all of a sudden you can't cast it. I think that like losing those kind of games is like gonna be way more common than winning a game with Sign in Blood target your opponent, which I've played a lot of Sign in Blood. You just don't target your opponent that often with it. Just like really doesn't happen. Isn't this deck splashable? Yes. Yeah. And no, but you are right. It could be correct to splash for Iteration. The splash, however, makes Murktide Regent a lot worse, where it's like, if you play a Blood Crypt in addition to your Swamp, your Murktide Counterspell plan is a lot doper, you know, a lot dopier. It's like a big part of the reason why you don't see like Blue Red Murktide splashing a color, is like, it is like a genuine tax on the mana. So they do have Heat plus Delirium. We really need to draw land. I think I have to go Thoughtseize plus Cut on their turn to not let them connive. Oh, I thought they have Spell Pierce. Okay, so now I have to cut on my turn. Did they already have that swap here? I don't think they did. Tech for kings. Why not cut first? I was planning on cutting on their turn. I was planning on cutting. I'm cutting the Ragavan here, not the Shredder. So I was planning on cutting on their turn to just not let the connive happen. Oh yeah, I saw this list. I think I retweeted the tweet of the first one, of whoever posted this. I've actually been working on the list as well. One thing is, I think that Step Through is cap. I think that this is not a card you should be playing. You're gonna take my Murderous Cut for sure, right? Yeah. One thing here is like if you just, I think you should be playing more Spoils of the Vault. And so the way I wanted to build the deck was cut the Step Throughs, play 4 Thassa's Oracle, cut Umoro Wizard. Like, why would you? This card is so dopey. I wanted to cut the Urtai's card is also really dopey. I wanted to cut the Step Throughs, and then I wanted to play 4 Spoil, 4 Angel Grace, 4 Oracle, so you could like naturally draw the combo. Some amount of the time, and then I also was interested in, hold on, I guess I just had to play this and let it get heated. I was also interested in playing, them drawing the Thoughtseize was so brutal for my plan. And so this way you can like, instead of like you can go Micromancer, get Ephemerate your Micromancer, get another Ephemerate, and then get 2 Spoils, and so you can go Spoils for Oracle if you don't have it, and then then Angel's Grace Spoils as well. And then if you're playing 4 Angel's Grace, 4 Spoils, then you can potentially play Grief and a Solitude and Ephemerate. To have that cheap premium interaction and the discard to help get your combo through. So those were like the main thoughts that I had regarding this list. I could be wrong. Step Through could be like way better than I think, but that's how I would build it. And Drew push. That's great. So yeah, that's how I would build it, and I haven't quite figured it out, but I may be playing it on stream sometime. These toolbox combo decks are always, they're not something I can just completely put together for you on stream, I think I'll let this go. Feels like bait because they have a counterspell too for the. Well, I don't know why they wouldn't push first. Actually. I could let this go. The hearse is just probably a little too good to not let go. Most shadowless are also just not playing. Lightning Bolt these days. Okay, they have no cards in their hand. They're also not playing Gigantha. We haven't seen any card from them that would stop them from playing Gigantha, but I haven't seen it yet. Okay, I almost feel like they were supposed to wait on this Shredder just so they could crew the hearse and attack for lethal. Because now that I just have a push for this, we're in pretty good shape. Oh, whoops. Yeah, so I wanted to bauble them pre-combat because of Ragavan. Okay, Kroxa is a nightmare card here. Oh, they even get to crew the hearse with the Kroxa. So I guess I would counter if I found a counter. Night's Whisper, huh? I think I discard the Invasive Surgery so that if I find Shadow, which is like one of my main outs stub cast anything. Although I think like my main, I think I need to draw Shadow or Murktide. If Murktide here would also be huge, but I'd have to draw it probably like, you know, not off the Night's Whisper. Or... Okay, game 3. Good game for sure. I think my sideboard plan's fine. Croaks is definitely a problem. Nerds, love it monthly, thank you. Not pushing upkeep seems iffy. Yeah, I guess maybe pushing up my upkeep was... Wait, on my upkeep? I would just take a draw, right? Nerds, love it monthly, thank you, welcome back. Gamblin, thank you for the Twitch Prime, appreciate you. Do dislike having to mulligan this matchup. But we get to go, this is a good hand, getting to go Thoughtseize into Double Shadow. See how good their hand is. I think I have to take the Ragavan, because I don't have to trade Ragavan for a Shadow next turn. Fat Kid Paladin, 2 months, thank you. You mentioned on Twitter that you thought the Dreadnought meld card was good in Engineer by testing Grixis Food, or only read my radar fix list. Grixis Food seems like a good shot for it as well. I mean, there's like a lot of options. I usually kind of wait a little bit to start deck building with new cards until you get the full spoiler, though. Sprawn with the gifted sub, thank you. What happened to my love of Esper Asmo? Well, nothing happened to my love for it. It's just that I'm always just trying to do new things. And there was like definitely a time where there was a ton of big mana decks and like, you know, maybe even an above average number of Karn the Great creators, even though it was a short time, that kind of stopped me playing it. But I also don't love to like put a deck down for a while and then return to it with like, you know, no major updates. Not that I never do that, but it is a deck I like. It's even the one I'm considering just like YOLOing for this weekend, but I'm gonna play Red Green Breach today. I don't think today, no. Today's a shorter stream because I'm picking up Minguchi from the airport. So they're gonna want to try to play the Channeler on defense. Yeah, this I imagine this league at least will be on YouTube. Biscuit, 10 months, thank you. What am I doing? So there's an STG Dallas happening this weekend here in Dallas, and Andrea Minguchi is attending, and I am hosting him. He's staying with me, so I'm picking him up from the airport in like an hour. Monkey Knife Fight, thank you for the 11 months, appreciate you. This is an interesting discard decision. Or maybe it's not that interesting. Maybe you just always discard Scalding Tarn here. Yeah, actually. It is modern, yeah. Perfect. Consider into fetch land is just so nuts here. What the hell? They do have their own shadow. But me getting to play a 5/5 Murktide here is crazy. If I played the new Boros Romancer decklist on stream, it doesn't work. We almost did, but the problem is the heroic card. Heroic doesn't work with Ground Rift because the copies of spell don't trigger heroic apparently. Yeah, I don't know of anyone doing backpack streams for the SCG. I'm not. I will say I will maybe do a vlog and then I won't do a vlog. But if someone in chat knows of someone doing a backpack stream, you can shout them out. Like I don't think Honorog is traveling for this SCG, or at least like surely he would have mentioned it because I was talking to him yesterday. So this makes either Shadow lethal. Dude, Knight's Whisper... this card's been nuts today, right? So if they have like Terminate for Shadow, they have to like chump the other one. Or it's sorry, it's actually not a chump. It's not a chump. Oh no. Stupid Shadow math. Oh no, I just threw away the game. Yeah, I was just supposed to attack here. I realized like as soon as I clicked attack. So now I'm dead to escape Kroxa. Yeah. As soon as I clicked attack. Oh no. This game was so winnable. Also, if I just shock pre-combat too, their Shadow dies, but then I die to the Kroxa anyways. Could be Grixis Shadow. Becoming more common. Accidentally Giganthalus Shadow. Yeah, we were trying to figure out what you were playing instead of instead of the Gigantha this whole time. I think I pushed now, so they would counter the push. Spell Pierce in the main has been pretty common in Shadow lately. If I had to play, would I play Esper or Grixis? I admittedly still haven't played the Grixis version with Engineer, but like I think the third color in the main deck does stretch things a lot, and I think that Engineer is probably the worst card in the deck if you play it. As someone who I've been playing a lot of Goblin Engineer lately, it's a card I am addicted to and really like. It's also just like not that good. It's not that good of a card. It's very Stoneforge Mystic-esque, which unfortunately is also not that good of a card. That doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of potential, and it doesn't mean it won't improve a little bit over time. I think I'm just passing here. But yeah, Goblin Engineer is it's just not that good. And I think that I would play the Dimir splash white for Prismatic Ending in the side. I think is mostly for the Hammer Time matchup because they bring in like so many different things against you. I also haven't played the deck in a long time, so I'm like a little bit worried about managing it in paper. Although when I did play it in paper, I didn't really feel like it was too hard to manage, I guess. Shadow deck's hard to play, huh? I think we just pass back again. Alright, just the same dynamic again. Yeah, good time for this clip, huh? I was doing a Dono League. I always tell this part of the story, but I was doing Dono League for Living End. This is, you know, pre-MH2. I got to grow over the Burn Willows, Death Shadow. And then some Living End specialist character made a whole YouTube video about how bad I played this Donation League. A whole YouTube video breaking down all of this misplays. Oh, Kroxa. Yeah, Kroxa's been crazy. I haven't missed Charm. I'm thinking no, since 3 mana, 17 lands. Yeah, you have to play 18 lands if you play Charm, I think, or you probably should play 18 lands if you play Charm. But I haven't really missed it. Night's Whisper has been like, chef's kiss. This is what I was hoping to draw. Okay, so if my opponent uses a removal spell on a shadow, I think I counter, because if they escape Croakster, then my shadows get really big. So any life loss here is so good for me. Although that was also a win. Yeah, so Thoughtseize, Night's Whisper, Watery Grave, any fetch land, we're all outs to any Drown in the Loch. We had tons of outs to win there. Alright, this is how I said we're last time. Let's run it back. Yeah, so I'm not playing Seagate Restoration because I think when you play no Archmage's Charm, you want the swamp, especially with how many Blood Moons are running around. Tooth is doing a lot better, thanks for asking. I think Shadow will be unplayable if they finish the cycle of Grove. I mean, I don't know that it would be a super played card, but like Grove currently doesn't see almost any play. But Shadow will become a lot worse. If anything, Academia's Waking with Shadow and Shudder. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you want to play that card over the Swamp in the Blood Moon format. I also don't think... I'm not sure that's exactly what you're suggesting, I guess, but... yeah, I don't think you want to play that card over Swamp in the Blood Moon format. I don't think you want 2 black sources. I also say this. I've played like a decent amount of Agadeem's Awakening in Shadow decks. I have never cast Agadeem's Awakening to return a shadow. I've cast it to return some zombies. How short is a short stream? I need to pick Minguchi up from the airport in like 45 minutes, so it's gonna be relatively short today. Yeah, we don't got too much time left, chat. Alright, let's go Shredder, Bauble. It'll be so good to find another land and just get to triple spell next turn. I'm gonna do a collab video. So I'm going to be back tomorrow for the stream. We might play Esper Food tomorrow, actually. Quant, give me a 2-pack. Appreciate you. Mingu did tell me he was open to do like a co-stream. And so, like, I think that's like likely to happen tomorrow, but we'll just see. Because I feel like he might be. I know I would be really tired traveling to Portland, traveling back here. I had a lot of fun doing a co-stream with Doom when he came in, but it didn't go super long. I don't know what we would play exactly, how it would work, But I'm sure it'd be fine. Do you have any funny signs I'm bringing to pick up Mingu? No. I mean, I'm just going to be in my car. If you play Esper Reanimator someday, post on YouTube. There should be plenty of YouTube content for Esper Reanimator. Yeah, we're going to take Mingu to some barbecue. I've got a list of restaurants. Why Dimir said Graces? Yeah, so this is something that I probably need to say again. People always ask, why Dimir Shadow instead of Grixis Shadow? This is not really a Shadow deck, it's really a Murktide deck. Where if you look at this deck is way, way closer to Blue-Red Murktide than it is to Grixis Shadow, where it has like kind of the same formula of like being more on the counter magic and slower, less aggressive. And the idea is that the black cards make you better in like the Murktide Mirror, and they make you better... Not finding a land here really stinks. I kind of like just playing 2 shadows here, and then both shadows are going to be 12/12s. against an opponent who's at 12 life, and these have to attack. And most Shadow players don't play Bolt. I play 3 Bolts in my Grixis Shadow list. Most Shadow players play Push and Heat. And so, like, I usually don't play around Lightning Bolt when I play against Shadow until I see one, obviously. But if you play against me, I almost always play Bolt. I think I like this. Oh, they have a Heat, okay. Destructotron, 12 pack, thank you, buddy. Gotta give some, or 10 pack. If you gotta give us stuff for Destructo, make sure to thank 5 for you, 5 for Mango. Yeah, I'll definitely pay those forward. I must have quad. We'll take a look. Okay, very few outs from this point. I have to draw a Push, a Murderous Cut, or a basic land. I think I still like the line. Game 3 on the play. Don't play Dryad at the Elysian Grove. Don't do it, please don't do it. I mean, I would play Nylea's Presence over Dryad at Elysian Grove here. Like, you're just like not a deck that benefits from the extra land drops very much, and the card is 3 mana. I would not play it. I would. It's also true, like, as you know, Zoggoth Triumph plus Sacred Foundry. This is going to be let's keep this. I'll use the Bauble in turn 1, not save it for the Shredder. This is going to be how you turn on Domain way more often than Dryad ever would be. Okay, I already even considered the hand. I'm going to shuffle it away. Just get one more luck here. I'll also cast this in the upkeep to play on Spell Pierce. 17 lands, by the way. I mean, at that point, I guess Amori's cool. Amori's cool. You can definitely play Amori. I do think that one thing I still kind of like in Enchantress is main decking a Blood Moon as a Sterling Grove target, and it is really awkward with your like domain stuff. But like a lot of times, like if you have Plains, Forest, Sacred Foundry, your Leyline Binding still costs 3 mana with Blood Moon to play, which is I think is totally fine. It's gonna be a 1 mana a lot of the time otherwise, and you'll mostly just tutor up Blood Moon against decks like Titan stuff, which you have a hard time with otherwise. I think I'm good at Night's Whisper here. So yeah, I would mostly just be, I think in this list, -3 Dryad, +1 Spinner, +1 Anthonice, +1 Blood Moon in the main. The more Blood Moons on the side, a lot of time you'll cut the Leyline Bindings when you bring in more Blood Moons. Amori's cool though. It's probably like, I imagine it probably doesn't like come up that often. But when it comes up, it'll be good. Pigs 12 months, missed it with the 8. Thank you. Any consideration for Rakdos Shadow? So I mean, I think it's cool that the Rakdos Shadow lists are existing, and like Soul Strong is a great player. Has a lot of cool ideas. I can't remember, so I need to like take another look at it. But I do remember looking at Soul Strong's list, and like there was like something about it I didn't like very much. I think it was the hold on. I did really like the Torvlar tech for Archon. I thought that was really creative. Very good tech. Although I think in a blue deck you probably still want Counter Magic instead. Let me pull up the list. So yeah, this is Soul Strong's Rakdos Shadow list. Yeah, I think the big thing is Blood Moon in Shadow. It's like Blood Moon is gonna like lock you out of like being able to even cast Death Shadow a lot of the time. It's gonna lock you out of like your main way to pay life with your lands. You do have 2 Street Wraiths to compensate a little bit, but like maybe I would maybe try to just like get up to the full 4 Street Wraiths. I've played Seasoned Pyromancer with Shadow in the past, and I usually feel like Seasoned Pyromancer is like It's kind of hard to articulate, but it's a card that I kind of just don't like in Shadow decks, where it's somewhat clunky, somewhat mana, somewhat slow, and I feel like Seasoned Pyromancer a lot of times plays like defense pretty well and doesn't play offense super well. Oh, that's just maybe a bit more vague, I guess. Yeah, but I think if you're gonna play main deck Blood Moon, you have to play more Street Wraiths. That was kind of like the main thought I had. I also remember thinking like the Agadeem's Awakening is awkward with so many basic swamps, like 3 basic swamps, and the Agadeem's Awakening is a lot of lands that only tap for black. Although that's probably fine. But a very, very cool, interesting list, I could be overthinking it some. Oh, I was also thinking, like, if you play Squee over Kroxa, and you play Murderous Cut over Terminate, and you cut the Voidwalker somehow, you're like, you can just play Obosh. Fable over Pyro. I think Fables are also pretty bad in the Shadow list. Maybe I'm addicted to Obosh, though. I don't know. I just love Obosh so much. You use cyber cards, too. I don't know. I mean, Obosh is pretty good. The perfectly designed companion. Alright, let's play around Spell Pierce here. We just hold up Counterspell also. Pay for my thoughts on New Lord Cycle, specifically for Elves and Merfolk. Do you have a larger question? All the New Lords are good, or the Teamer ones at least. The Elves one is really good. The Goblins one is really good. Merfolk one is really good. They are buffs to decks that, to some extent have been struggling in Modern. However, of these decks, Goblins is like pretty easily the best one still. Don't have Delirium. I did delve in a way earlier that I lost Delirium. Thinking that with just one surgery it wouldn't be that relevant, but then became relevant. Ooh, they get to resolve a Shadow though. So we need to draw something. If there was a companion that was the opposite of Obosh, all even cards, how would I make it? If such a card existed, which it doesn't, if such a card existed, I would make it blue-black probably. I would make it a 6 mana, 6/6. Obviously, your deck has to contain all even cards instead of all odd cards. And then let's make it like, when it enters the battlefield, each player mills 4. And then it should probably do something else. So maybe like you just like put a creature from a graveyard into play or something. I don't know, just kind of off the cuff. Let's just ship it. But what would you call it? I would call it Lucy. How about a creature from among the mill cards to beat Leyline? Beating Leyline seems like a good thing to do for a mill card like this. A lot of good draws here. 17 lands, by the way, baby. I feel like if I lose 2 matches in a row at the end here, although I did punt the last one, but if I lose 2 matches to Grixis Shadow, and I was already kind of planning to play Grixis Shadow, maybe I just jammed Grixis Shadow, right? I only played 1 league with Grixis Shadow this week, but it's like, how have I feel about John? I feel like John has been good. I think you could cut the 4th one. Don't play Shadow. It was, I don't know. I liked it a lot on Tuesday. Like, Tuesday we played a league with Grixis Shadow where we were like mulliganing a ton, getting like hella mana screwed, mana flooded, and still like 4-1. Which was like, I don't know, that's always like, I feel like a really good sign. Shadow's also been putting up like a lot of results lately. I think that it seems pretty reasonably well positioned. If I recall correctly, my opponents played Horrendous on Tuesday. Yeah, my it's been a blur the last few days because I've been like writhing around in pain with my tooth, so you might be right. Play Reed's Mono Red Prowess list? I had a Mono Red Prowess list. What was Reed's list like? It's been two years, thank you.